everyone. It is that time of year again when streets will be blocked off. The St. Louis area will be drenched in green, gold, and purple, and beads will be tossed and gathered in the millions. I'm talking, of course, about the Mardi Gras festivities in the St. Louis area held in downtown historic Soulard. My name is Carrie Johnson. My husband and I have been going to Soulard for many years. We go probably every other year. And so I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my experience, some of the history of Mardi Gras, some of the events that are going on this year, and then some tips to help make it a successful event for you. Mardi Gras started back in pagan times. It was known as Carnival. It was something where people acted crazy, acted wild, and then it became incorporated into the church because the church sort of chose to pick their battles, and they decided that they would go ahead and allow the craziness and the festivities to happen so long as it didn't interfere with the church. They allowed it to happen right before Lent so that they could get that out of their systems and then seriously observe Lent. This was done in 1952 by Pope Gregory VIII, who instituted it into the Gregorian calendar, which is the one we still use today. Many people believe that in 1699 is when it came to the United States, to the area known now as New Orleans by some French explorers that settled in the New Orleans area. They had parties on what they called Point du Mardi Gras. They had parties there, and parties continued to grow and continued to be held there until the Spanish took over the area. And whenever the Spanish took over the area, they quashed all parties, all festivities, until 1812. The ban lasted until 1812, whenever Louisiana then became a state. It wasn't until about 15 years later that students began wearing masks and partying in the streets. After that, probably about 10 years later, there was the first parade was held. And then another 20 years later is whenever in 1957 is whenever this secret society of businessmen who called themselves the Mystic Crew of Comus had a torchlit procession that had rolling floats, marching bands. It was a bigger party than they'd ever had there before. And so they had that in 1957, and that's whenever it really became popular. So in Soulard has a little bit of a French history. Soulard's French history dates back to some French settlers by the name of Antoine and Julie Soulard, who obviously named the area after them. This is actually, they bought some area in Soulard. They bought a 2-block parcel, and they designated it as a farmer's market. This is actually the oldest farmer's market this side of the Mississippi. That's where the French connection comes in. The Mardi Gras connection comes in when in 1980, Hillary Clemens and a group of his friends had a severe case of cabin fever, and they decided to go throw a party down in downtown St. Louis at Hillary's building. That building is where Soulard starts out the Mardi Gras festivities, and it's known as Johnny's. It's still Johnny's today. If you're interested in the St. Louis Mardi Gras, some things you need to know is that it's about a month-long celebration. It starts on 12th night, which is 12 days after Christmas. There's various events that are held for the entire month leading up to the Grand Parade and then the Fat Tuesday Parade. Chris Dobb, a seasoned Mardi Gras goer, explains it like this. He has been going since he was 19. It's a lot of fun, walking, drinking, and people watching. You never know what you will see. It was better back in the day, and it has tamed down over the years, but it's still fun. Emily Staub, another seasoned Mardi Gras goer who's been going since childhood, says, I've been going to Mardi Gras since I was 12. It was a tradition for my dad and I together every year. We both would dress up and head to the parade and catch as many beads as possible. The evening at Mardi Gras is a wild party, but the parade is family-friendly as you can get for Mardi Gras. I began taking a hula hoop to the parade as a target for the bead throwers. The hula hoop at least doubled out bead count. People watching is definitely one of my top reasons to go. Any type of dress goes at Mardi Gras. We have seen everything from Russian guards, Santa Clauses, drag queen gangs, to Mardi Gras kings and queens. You should also check your local newspapers, your local TV, your local radio stations for any road closures because they do close off ramps and they do close off the entire section of Soulard to keep it safe for the floats, the attendees, and everyone down there with all the tents. They block it off for the whole day. Some of the things that you should know are some of the events. The Bud Light Grand Parade is the largest event in the Midwest, largest parade in the Midwest. It starts at 11 a.m. and it is held starting at the south of Busch Stadium, goes to downtown South, then it goes to Soulard area, and then ends at the Anheuser-Busch area. There's a pet parade, which is actually held next weekend, and it features a wiener dog race. It's held on the 8th. The Bud Light Grand Parade, let me back up, the Bud Light Grand Parade is actually on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day this year. The Fat Tuesday is the very end of the festivities. It is held on Fat Tuesday, and it's a parade of people that go down through downtown Washington Avenue in St. Louis. There's several party tents that are also there. Some of the tents you can get extra tickets to, and you can get them in advance so that you have shorter lines to wait for the porta potties, to wait for your drinks, to get your food. It's a lot quicker if you pay in advance, but it's a little bit more. It's a very crowded area. Some of the things that you need to know. Chris Staub recommends dressing warm, bringing a coat, wearing comfortable shoes because you don't want to wear uncomfortable shoes. I've made that mistake, and I could barely walk by the end of the day. He also recommends bringing a slimline camel backpack with your drink in it because you cannot take a cooler down there. So you're going to want to take that, and then that'll help you save some money on your drinks too. Emily recommends going to a hotel or staying with a friend for the evening, and if neither of those are possible, taking the Metrolink to and from where you want to go. Myself, I suggest having a meetup place that you meet with your friends and at a specific time because you're just not going to get through with your cell phone. I also recommend paying extra for the porta potties because you don't want to spend the entire time in the porta potty line with so many people down there and only a certain number of restrooms available. You don't want to spend the whole time there. And police are on the lookout for people that are urinating in public. It is actually a really bad thing that happens a lot down there, so they will be handing out tickets. They do it every year. I also recommend that you don't rely on your cell phone for getting a hold of your friends because you're just not going to be able to get through. With too many people down there, too much cell phone traffic, and too much on there congestion, you're just not going to get through. So don't rely on getting a text message or a phone call to anyone. Also, if you don't like crowds or you're easily offended, I recommend not going. You're going to want to take a cab and make that reservation in advance. There's too many people trying to get cabs. You're just not going to get one. They've already booked in advance, so I recommend doing it in advance. Hopefully with everything I've told you, I hope that you now know a little bit more about Mardi Gras, a little bit about Mardi Gras in the Soulard area, some of the events, and then also I hope that you know some tips for making it a successful event should you choose to go.